Call the meeting to order.
No, he won't.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the agenda. Any additions or corrections?
Motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes from last week.
Motion to approve the minutes?
I'll second.
Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we now have public comment period. Reminder, there are no personal attacks allowed. Please state your name and township. All right, then Shirley, you can get on a little early this morning.
Thank you for hearing us again this year. Last year was our big year. After a 15-year journey, we are in our new building addition. It began 16 years ago now when we acquired the land, and we raised enough money to hire an architect, and we started raising money earnestly in 2003. And last year we opened up at fair time after much work. In the end, we did have to borrow $75,000, but we have pared that down to $40,000, so we're getting there. Over 1,500 people visited the museum during the fair last year, and it was well received and a lot of nice comments. And we're still working on many things. We're just getting started on the timeline. We've had a fellow come in that will help us start with the geology, and it's going to be a good timeline, we hope, in the end. This last year, we had visitors from 31 states and 8 foreign countries. We had 5,500 hours of volunteer time, and some of our big projects this year, we have 3 Eagle Scout projects going. One young fellow is doing the landscaping around the flagpole in front of the new museum, where we come into the museum. One is just finishing up painting the daily school, and one is taking on this little railroad building we have, what we hope to make into a little miniature depot. We are having a flagpole dedication on August 14th at 11 o'clock. This flagpole is funded by the American Legion and DFW groups in Houston County, and the flagpole will be dedicated to the men and women of Houston County who served their country in the armed forces in the past, present, and future. So this is why we wanted to get the new landscaping around finished for this.
When is it again? August 14th?
August 14th at 11 a.m. the Thursday of the fair. And we're hoping that some of you may attend. It's the Legions are we're going to have a program and things. So we are currently in our second capital campaign. We're raising money again for we still don't have an elevator, or the basement is not finished per se along the walls. And one of our big projects this past week, 2 weeks ago, was we replaced logs on the log home. And that was quite a project. And this was made possible by a lady designating Ruby Swenson. Her husband and his brother Warren and Wayne Swenson donated the cabin, and she left money for the upkeep of it, so this made this possible for us to do this. And if you drive by there, you'll see a lot of rotten logs laying there. It was quite an impressive way of replacing logs. They just jacked it up a little bit and slipped out the old ones and slipped in new ones. Now we have to do the chinking and the netting and the chinking. So we have written some grants. We are getting a new digital microfilm reader, and we're investing in some new computers, and we continue to have a good group of volunteers. We're also revamping the agriculture building this year, and we received some nice additions from the Warren Dieters estate, and we're also going to get another tractor, so we'll have 3 tractors now, which we never anticipated that we would get any. So it's quite an operation. We also this winter repainted and recarpeted and refurbished the old museum, which is now the research center and library. And we're through the book sale. We have assembled a Minnesota library, or it's in continuing process, which will be a nice addition because we're in Minnesota. And we do have a section on Houston County authors, and we continue to get support from townships, and as I said before, we've been able to pare our loan down to $40,000, which is good because we really didn't want to borrow any money, but to finish so we could open by August, we had to do a little bit of this. So you have things to add?
No, just that we do a lot of research for people from all over the world. I enjoy doing that and meet a lot of nice people, and so it's challenging and rewarding thing to do. So.
I think we had about 60 new researchers last year from 21 states, and Houston County. We have, besides all these visitors from other states, we have a lot of visitors from Houston County and Iowa, Wisconsin. I think we had well over, in our statistics, I think we had visitors from well over 100 cities in Minnesota, and I think about 60 in Wisconsin and different cities, and about 25 from Iowa. So we serve the Tri-County areas here. We serve a lot of people, and so it's quite an ongoing project here, and we're hoping that you'll continue with your fine support, and we have not asked for any increase, and if you have questions, I would be glad to try and answer them.
I think you do a wonderful job. I've been there. I know my husband's there all the time.
It's an impressive facility too. You know, I enjoy going in there. Pretty like it.
And we're, as we go along, we will be having more exhibits, and now we will be changing exhibits too, because being it's a local museum, you need to have things different so people will continue to come and look at them. And, like one of the most difficult tasks is to do this timeline, but we have contacted a fellow that knows a lot about the Driftless area, which we're going to start with. So it's going to be quite a project. We want to do it so it's very educational and shall I say, informative, and people will enjoy seeing how our county developed.
I do have a video of the Driftless area that was made locally.
That's who we had, George Hall. He
Oh,
was in
good.
last week. He was
I
at
was
our
going to
board
say
meeting
George
last
was at our
week.
house last week, and I bought 2 more from him.
He was really interesting, and he's very willing to help us get started with this. So we're very fortunate that he's
Okay.
going to do
I was
this.
just going to recommend George. Because
Yeah,
he's so knowledgeable.
He's really knowledgeable. So,
Good.
and we have written some other grants that we're building money for another picture stand, and they're quite expensive, and we need we have so many, we have over 20,000 photographs, and we have thousands of glass plates that have not been taken care of yet, and we will be writing grants for materials to take care of those. As we actually went out to the pollen auction and bought most of the rest of the glass plates. They had donated a lot of them, but we felt that if they left the county, you would not see them again. So we felt it was our duty to do that. So,
Very good. Budget time, we do go through our appropriations, and we'll keep you informed on that. So.
okay. If you have any other questions, we are there. We still have our same hours, but we're actually there an awful lot of the time on other days of the week, because there is just such a...
And what are your hours again?
It's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then Saturday and Sunday afternoons.
Okay.
But we are there a lot on Thursday and Fridays because of trying to get all this accomplished. Being we've worked on the new building so much the last few years, it's kind of, we're catching up with our older buildings now, so.
Do you collect books all year long?
Yes, we do. Our book sale was successful this year. We did over 5,000, I think, and then we received a grant from Thrivant. And we're also on Thrivant Choice now too, so that people can donate through that on our, as part of our monies received. It's quite a task, but it's very enjoyable.
Yep. Second that.
Yeah, you have something to offer, you want to talk about our computers a little bit, or?
Well, I'm supposedly the computer techie, and I don't know anything about computers, so yeah, it's hard getting used to these new 8.1, but we're getting there, and we're going to be using one of them with our new microfilm reader that we get from the grant that's on this so.
When we went to, when you went to the new museum, it's hard to believe that most of those things were in that little building downstairs. It's almost mind-boggling. And, I don't know how many have you been there to see the transition, but it's very pleasant. We have very pleasant working conditions now compared to, we were pretty much, it was claustrophobic actually, because we had
air conditioning.
yeah, we have air conditioning now. We didn't
Had all
have,
these years.
we put in a new furnace and air conditioning a couple of years ago because the other one had been there since the original museum was built in '68, so it was about time to do it. So, and so we're getting tours through. We do school tours, and we have tours from different people. And last week we had the Minnesota County Surveyors had a meeting here, and it was well received. And we have a very interesting display from the surveyors group in Minnesota and the Minnesota Historical Society on the surveying of the area. And we're glad that Dick Walters is always there helping along with that. So anyway, if you...
Oh, he says when he retires, he'll be a permanent volunteer there.
Great. So that will be wonderful. Can I answer any of your other questions, or? We continue to be an all-volunteer organization. Perhaps sometime in the future there will have to be something different, but at the present time it's working, and we have a really dedicated group of volunteers. I can't say enough about them. They put in hours that you can't believe sometimes.
You can't say enough about Shirley.
That's right.
She's a leader, right?
So,
Well, thank you, and we will. We appreciate everything you
okay,
do.
well, thank you for your time and consideration of our requests.
Thank you for coming. Ryan?
On the agenda today, to request approval of 4 projects tied together as into one bundle. They're projects SAP 28-603, actually it's SP 28-603-024, SP 28-604-035, SP 28-614-010, and SP 028-627-008. These are 4 roadways that got sustained damage during 2013 floods. These are considered major collectors at above on the roadway system, so they're, instead of being paid for by FEMA funds, it's Federal Highway Emergency Relief funds. So it's a different funding source, different process we have to go through. This is our second to last project to bid out for the 2013 flood damage. So after this, there's only 1 roadway remaining. We had 4 bids at the bid opening yesterday. The low bid was Generation X out of Rushford. Their bid came in at $145,041. Our estimate was $174,176, so about 16% under the estimate. I guess I'm requesting approval on those.
Motion to approve Generation X for the bid projects.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Hey Brian, real quick, like, how does that work, like, on the 035? With the culverts where some put in total price and some went, I assume, by the foot or something like that?
Everything should be by the price per foot. Now, there was one bid that, on the 35 project, there's, that culvert has been replaced.
Yeah.
So that culvert's going to come out of the actual contract at the end. The reason why that culvert was replaced, we didn't want to wait on this and not have it replaced in time before the paving job.
Yeah.
So the one contractor was essentially bid it at a penny.
Yeah.
Everyone else bid it at the actual cost per foot as contract and stuff.
Oh, because
So
they were the ones that put it in the first time?
they didn't put it in the first time, but they knew about it
Oh.
being replaced. So I don't know if they went out there to the site and saw it was gone.
I see.
So really, when we get done, the culvert items with that will be taken out, so this contract is going to go down.
I see.
So,
Okay.
but by the time we got that done, to do all the change orders, get everything approved by the state, it wasn't worth it to try to go through that effort and delay the bid opening. We still have other work we need to get done before they do the paving job for this year, so we bid it out as is.
Oh, just curious.
Good catch.
Yeah, I was just, it kind of stuck out, I was like, oh.
Yeah, so that's what that was.
All right, cool, thanks, Brian.
Test if they didn't work. Let's go to the consent agenda next. Correspondence to Henny Cook regarding tons delivered to Excel. Section 8 vouchers by county report. Correspondence regarding sites under consideration for inclusion on the National Register of Historic Places. I think everybody saw that on our agenda.
That was really interesting, all the stuff about
Yeah.
the historical.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No word from Tessia? No. Well, we'll go down to discussion items then. Approved claims, human services, and license center disbursements. Everybody have a chance to review them?
Move to approve.
Second.
Opposed? I mean, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We need to appoint 2 members to the County Canvassing Board, which meets Friday, August 15th.
That's just for the.
For the
after
primary.
Primaries, right?
Correct.
Comment?
And none of you are on the primary ballot, so
So we're all eligible?
you're all eligible.
I can do that.
Justin
I'll do it, Jim.
and Amy. Thank you.
Is that here?
Correct, right here.
Sure, that only takes a few minutes. most of the time.
Yep.
Okay, we need to set the county TNT meeting for 6 PM on Thursday, December 4th. Truth and taxation meeting. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
What was that date again?
Thursday, December 4th,
Yeah, okay.
6 PM.
Actually, 6:01, it has to be after 6 o'clock.
I think they changed it. I think now
I
it can't be
read it
any
this morning.
later than 6.
I just read it this morning, it said after 6 p.m.
Okay.
in the calendar on the
Okay. I
website.
think what I read said 6 o'clock or
Yeah, they
later.
have 2 different calendars.
Yeah.
It's just odd.
Well, 6:01 works, doesn't it, for
Yeah.
everybody?
Yeah.
Real quick. Another quick thing I just wanted to bring up, with the public comment period, just open for discussion, wondering if we should put that at the end, just so we don't have to keep calling people if we get ahead, if we don't have anybody comment, we can stay kind of on track, you know? It seems like every meeting, we're always not a public comment period, then we gotta call everybody and move them up, and we're sitting here waiting, versus if we just have our schedule and at the end allow time, so we can keep on track, so we don't have to keep calling people and having people come in 15 minutes in case we run ahead. Which is something I was gonna bring up just to chat about, if that was something that, for logistics, if that should be at the end instead of the beginning.
What does the rest of you? Why don't we think about it and discuss it next week?
Yeah, that
Put it on
works.
the agenda for discussion.
Yeah. Just then we're not calling, we're waiting around and calling.
Except that people can come, and you know, how last week our meeting went till 11:30.
But we
It
can allow-
It would be tough at the end for people to say.
And people don't want to sit here till 11:30, 12, you know.
Yeah,
Well, let's think about it.
Yeah.
Or maybe schedule some of the
Okay.
business like Brian and Tess right away, and then put public comment at 9:30 or something. I mean, that's,
yeah,
think about it.
sure, sure. I just thought it'd be maybe a little bit easier than in the beginning, and then nobody comments, now we're 15 minutes ahead, we gotta call everybody, or if you just had it at the end of the meeting, I'm sure a lot of people want to sit through and listen to the meeting anyway, that they're gonna be here, and then they can comment at the end and have a 15-minute spot at the end, you know. Anyway,
Except, like I said, last week we went till 11:30, and nobody wanted to sit that long,
yeah, well,
maybe.
we'll see.
If they want to talk, they might want to.
Exactly, exactly. Or they get the agenda ahead of time, they can just come at 11.
Great.
But,
Okay,
anyway, we'll
let's
talk,
make a
let's see.
decision on it next week.
Sure.
Bring it up then. Sound good?
Yep.
Okay.
Tess is here.
Okay, Tess?
Good morning. Morning. Everyone's doing well. And we have quite a few items here, but none of them should be too time consuming for you. We'll start with the sheriff's office here, as this is the last position in our recent efforts. Remember, we had the 3 FTEs we were looking at that created openings in our 3 half-time positions. So this is the last of the 3 half-time positions. We're recommending the hire of Jordan Brooker as a probationary half-time as .5 FTE, jailer dispatcher, a starting wage of $19.29 per hour, effective August 10th. Do you have any comments?
No, this would be contingent on background.
Well, conditioned upon successful completion of a full sheriff's office background check. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Was this that refill spot for someone who
Yes.
moved up, right? Yeah.
All 3
All
of the
three.
half-time positions that we recently appointed were a result of that.
Yep.
I'm asking because we've had a lot of searches lately, as you can see.
We've been out for a while.
And he
Need a
comes
motion?
to us from Eau Claire County.
Eau Claire County he worked at the correctional officer.
So he has.
He lives in our county now.
I'll make a motion to approve hiring Jordan Rucker as a probationary half-time jailer dispatcher, effective August 10th.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Kim Coleman is supposed to be here too, but we can go ahead and
So, thank you. So for Human Services, well, it's our recommendation at this point, at this time, to appoint Jacqueline Snodgrass as a 1 FTE probationary eligibility worker at a wage of $16.28 per hour, effective August 11th. And you want to comment about her background for us a little bit?
Well,
What she's
actually-
been doing for us?
Yeah, Jacqueline already is a case aide within the child support unit. And child support actually works really very closely with the financial worker group. So she has a very nice background that way. And she's just a great employee anyway. And this would be one step up for her. And we also, along with that, we had a large pool of applicants.
We had a very competitive pool of applicants. We had, I think, 30 applicants initially, 20 tested, came from a variety of backgrounds, but we also had a concentration of folks that had experience in the field as well, and it was a very competitive process. I mean, it's just more evidence that Houston County is an employer of preference for many. We have very strong pools of applicants at this time in most all of our areas. So,
Move to approve Jackie Snodgrass to probationary B23, is that right? Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
and along with that, because we ended up filling our position with our internal applicant, and that created a vacancy for us, we did, just as we did with the jail, do a simultaneous recruitment for that position in the event that that did occur. And so at this time, we'd like to recommend the hiring of Melissa Jordan as a case aide, B22, at a wage of $14.19 an hour, effective July 28th. You notice there is some overlap there because of the necessity for training. I think this then completes any current openings we have in the human service area.
And Jordan was from the same pool of applicants, so it was very competitive, and I think she'll do a great job. She's,
What we did was, when we recruited, we asked them to express an interest in one or both of the positions at the time of their initial application. And then, of course, validated that at when we made we're asking if they were still interested in the position. And of course, this would be conditioned upon our general background check, successful completion of that. And Jordan had very good references as well.
I move to hire Melissa Jordan, case aide B22.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. And lastly, we would like to, we respectfully request that, we have Ms. Gail Stort's retirement date of July 31st this month. She works in the waiver area, which is, there's considerable documentation with all of our positions, but with that one, it's very important that she be able to complete all of her documentation processes, and we're just short a few days, and would like to respectfully request that we move her retirement date, which he's agreed to from July 31 to on or before August 8th.
She's fine with that. She didn't have any vacation all ready to go August 1st.
Well, you know, what it does is it extends it 1 week, and she did say she had a couple of things going that week, so more than likely, I mean, we might not even need the time, but just in case, we do want to have her get everything in there. Just, it's good for the county to have all those notes where they need to be. That sounds very important, so.
And
You
just
need a
completes
motion on that,
the
too?
transition.
I'm going to change the date from July 31st to on or before August 8th for Gail Swartz.
On or before August 8th.
Second.
Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Good, thank you. And I don't know, is Brian here? We do have I can't see if I can this way. We have a resignation in Brian's, in the highway department. And as a highway maintenance worker, Jeff Rude has submitted his resignation to be effective August 2nd. And Brian and I, highway engineer and I talked yesterday. It has been, it was last September and October that we entered into a search process for this position. So our pool of applicants is well beyond our 6-month period. So we would like to initiate a competitive search for this position as soon as possible. And so with your permission, we would ask that you formally accept Mr. Rude's, or acknowledge his resignation and initiate give us permission to initiate a search.
Move to accept Jeff Rude's resignation and also to begin a search for a replacement.
Second. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
I appreciate the board's willingness to let me make these last minute amendments yesterday, as things did kind of percolated up yesterday. Also, I know of your interest in bulldogging, if you will, the historical jail. I do not have, unfortunately, and I regret to inform you, I have no further news from NCIT at this time. I am, believe me, I am bulldogging them on your behalf.
Just keep us updated. Thank you.
I will be, there has been a request by the press to go through the building this morning. I will be offering that to them if you folks or there's someone you'd like us to do that, we'll do that immediately after this meeting, a very short tour.
Sounds good.
Will you just meet at the jail or your office?
We're going to meet at my office, I believe, but it's right after this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So either way would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure when you're all done, so.
Thank you, Tess.
See, Teresa, you got a few minutes. Curious if Rick had a question about a truck that's kind of come ahead. Wondering if the board wanted to hear from you real quick, just sort of on par with that. We got a few minutes.
I would think so. I called Rick over because I wanted him to update on Thursday. This coming, if you have any information. That's under Fraxon issue. We had a meeting yesterday morning, study group, 8 to 10. And the EQB staff wants to meet with the study group and the commissioners.
Did you get a firm date on that? I saw it.
Well,
That's what I've been working on. I've got calls in. It sounds like the meeting will take place on Thursday, but the actual time is still to be worked out yet. And that's not this Thursday, it's a week from this Thursday.
31st.
Yes. I know the study committee said that the sooner the better in the morning, just because then I can do stuff in the afternoon. And then my discussion with the gentleman up at the EQB is he needed to coordinate with a couple other people before he gets back to me at an actual time. So that's what I'm working on.
I think they're visiting other counties too, you said.
Yes.
So
Yes, what they're looking for is actually input on, they're gonna go into rulemaking now, and they need to hear feedback from counties as to rules, and I think, what their line of thinking may be, and I'm just guessing here, is, it's like the feedlots. They did go do a lot of discussions with counties before they actually adopted rulemaking, and then what they did was actually put thresholds on it. Anything under a certain threshold was left up to the local governmental units. Anything over that required state approval. And that's kind of what I'm looking at. Maybe that's what they're looking at, is what kind of feedback from counties that they're willing to in order to go into rulemaking, where that's going to, and how much involved they're going to get in local units of the smaller pits. So that's what I guess, that's my guess. And I think, and I applaud them for doing that, because I think it's the right way to go, because it's you come to the local or the smaller sand pits like this, going to be used for commercial versus the bigger industrial ones, where we're going to need that assistance from them.
Right.
And even in the smaller ones, as we're going through with the study committee and looking at all the possibilities and the things involved as we move forward, when we're going to look at new pits, we're going to need, that assistance from them also, some of that. So, I'm very, like I said, I'm very pleased with what's going on so far with that study committee. I mean, there's a lot of in-depth discussion going on, and hopefully something good comes out of this.
So at this time, we were tentatively planning 8 to 10 study group, and then we were hoping they could come around 10:30 from the cities, they're coming out, and have the rest of the commissioners come if you'd like to. And then I think Ron Miners wants to take the commissioners on that annual tour of the ponds or whatever, So that same day, so it's all day the 31st.
And we have enough time to post that if we do it now, right? Yeah,
We do?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm-
And then you will just let us know what time.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Works for me.
Okay.
And where will the joint meeting be held? In here?
Probably, I would assume here.
Okay.
31st, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as I find a time out, I've got another call into them, but
Okay.
I've not heard back.
Just need to post it.
Yeah.
Sounds good, thank you. Oh, and did you want to talk about the truck, Justin?
Oh, yeah, did you want to do it or not ready yet?
Well, I've been looking, and I know I discussed with you, Justin, a couple alternatives. And one's using existing, but the problem is, by the time we put rails under it, what's the height of that van? We are pushing height. I'm not comfortable going that route.
Or does it get tipping get too high too?
Well, it's going under bridges. We're getting close to that 13.6. And so I did a search in the area here. I did find one truck. It's down in Decorah. Probably, and what I'm just talked with Brian at the study committee, or the department head, land use, public works committee meeting. There is a truck I found down in Decorah down there. That's worth looking at. It's an 05 with a van body on it. I want to use the one I've got just because of the side door. I do need the side door on those.
Can we put one in on the new one if it isn't one?
Well, I just switch it.
Oh, you take the van body off?
Take the one off, and then what I do is sell the other one. I really don't, and we could probably sell that at the auctions.
Sure.
I've got one other van body that I used to use in Spring Grove here until we put the compactor in. So I'd have, and that one does need a little bit of work on the end gate, or on the back door. But I'd probably sell both of those.
I see. Sure.
Which would, and this one would be ready to go. I've been talking with a gentleman on that. He had listed, well, I'll get into that later. What I guess I'm looking at now is I asked Brian if maybe taking the mechanic down there and look it over first before we actually go proceed from there. So that's all right, then I mean, you come back next week.
Yeah, maybe get on
We're
the
not here
agenda.
next week.
Be the following.
2 weeks. We're not here next week.
That's right.
But could we add?
I'll tell you what, I'll make do, it's gonna take us some extra running with our trucks because I haven't got nothing to clean. We'll get by with it for a bite, but yeah,
And just keep us posted.
okay.
So,
All right, thank you.
thanks, Rick.
Anything on the highway department this week?
No,
And as we just heard from Tess, there's nothing on the courthouse jail yet. Commissioner reports, Dana?
I had one meeting last week. Went to my first safety meeting last Thursday, 1 o'clock. And we spent a lot of time talking about a couple issues, different security in different departments. That took up a lot of time. But I guess the main thing that came out of there was for the commissioners, they'd like when they develop safety policies that we, as a board of commissioners, enforce them, make it. Because I guess a lot of the stuff is, some of the departments feel like they don't have to go by some of the policies. That's been a problem. So it'll be our job, my job, to relay that to you guys. And
So there would be one policy.
see, we don't have a
courthouse
county
one.
administrator that tells everybody you got to do this. That's the problem I see throughout the county.
But then will you share the policy with us, or is there a policy now that we haven't seen?
Is there a policy?
They're
now?
making, it's ongoing. There's some of the safety stuff going on. They're revamping a lot of stuff like that. We're just sort of hung around. So I asked them what my position here was, to listen to them and then bring it back to you. And we're going to say, this is what's come out of safety, and if we like it, I suppose we can change if we like. Then we need to say, this is which is our safety policies, and it'll be in the handbooks, I'm sure. And we need to follow them. I guess there's been a problem with some of them not being enforced. Not a big deal. I'm still learning on it. Interesting committee. I enjoyed it. Ms. Hoffman?
Sounds good. Justin?
Nothing, I'm working a week.
I took in some election judge training. A little in.
Well, the big news today is Wildcat Playground equipment should be arriving today.
When are we going to put it up?
That's what we have to figure out yet. So I'm gonna meet with Brian and see where to go from there.
We heard you're an expert, Dana.
I've done 3 of them.
Yeah, so
That's exciting news. That
we
really
might
is
like to
good.
be the leader.
No, I don't want to be there. I know how to run a drill.
Okay,
If you can run a drill, you can be very helpful.
yeah? Okay.
It's like tighten the bolts.
I'm gonna try and find Brian later today and figure out what all we need to do and set it up and get volunteers there. I went to a really good tourism meeting in Albert Lea on Wednesday and Thursday. Southeastern Minnesota Tourism Association, or Southern Minnesota Tourism Association. And did you guys know there's a Salt Lake in Minnesota?
What?
Minnesota has a salt lake,
Natural salt?
a natural salt lake. It's on the western border. And I just found that
And you
really
can float right
interesting.
in it then, huh?
They said that it's really big for bird migration, that a lot of the birds, they have a huge bird migration through the area. So that was really interesting.
Do they
And
have like fish and stuff in there, or is it?
no, it's only those things, same things that are in Salt Lake, what are they called? They look like those little seahorses that you buy in the jars. I can't remember what they're called.
Brine
What?
Brine shrimp.
Yeah, brine shrimp, that's it. Yeah, that's the only thing that
That's the
lives
only
in the
one
Salt Lake.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about different tours and getting tours into the area and getting our brochures out to good places, which one of the things that we do that everyone said is really beneficial is we put our Houston County tourism, or the books on Houston County, at the
Mall of
the Mall of
America.
America, and that they go really fast. And they also suggested putting them at the airport too, and we haven't done that yet. Do you guys know what the fastest growing outdoor activity is in Minnesota?
Hiking?
Bird watching.
We got you.
Yeah, and so that's just a really big thing. Our county should really work at promoting that.
I think Spring Grove has a
Yeah.
bird watching.
Very good.
And we have a lot along the, down by Brownsville, you know, the bird lookouts and stuff. So we have a lot
And
of
the Turtle
that.
Islands.
Migratories, yeah.
We have a lot to capitalize on. I've got lots of stuff for our EDA meeting. This was really good. One thing that I wanted to bring before the board is there's an open spot on the Tourism Executive Board, and I'd really like to be involved in it, but it means that my expenses would have to be covered by the county that I'm in, and that they meet once a month, and then these meetings that I go to anyway, but they try to meet local, or center, so it wouldn't be like overnight travel, and if not, I could do it on the phone, but I didn't want to go ahead and be on it without bringing it back here. I just think we can bring so much more information and tourism into our county than what we're doing now. So,
It is a beautiful county.
it is very beautiful. Yeah, it's like a hidden gem, and you learn so much about promoting your county, and most EDAs are real involved in the tourism part, like that's what our EDA is working on, and that's kind of the focus that we talked about as a board, that we wanted to improve the tourism in Houston County. So it's up to you guys.
Seems like a good idea. You all right if you don't eat?
I won't know.
Pack a sandwich.
Yeah, brown bag it.
Okay, so then I can go ahead, all right?
I think the consensus is fine, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, it's just, I have so much to bring back to EDA, although they're meeting today when we have our department head meeting, because they changed it so that Rick could come to their meeting to kind of close out some things. I think that's all. I'm just really excited about what all we can do in the county and where we can get money to do it.
And I only had the study group yesterday as far as my extra meetings. And Dana, you saw our extension meeting was canceled for August.
Yeah, is that true?
Yes.
No meeting at all?
No, because we covered everything last month that
Yes.
we needed to.
So
Our next appointment was meeting with Fillmore County at 9, so they didn't think she could be here any earlier than 10:15. We may want to take a break versus roll.
Motion to recess till
10:15?
10:15.
Sure it was. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, recess till 10:15.
So we should
With our new radio.
We can call the meeting back to order.
yeah, make a motion to reconvene.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Matter where do you want me? Did you, Shar, did you need that?
No,
Okay, that was just for, okay.
Yep.
All right. I never went over 60, no, oh, sorry. 60 miles per hour, right? I'm Jennifer Nelson. I'm with the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation. We are a regional foundation that covers 20 counties. Usually I think you have Tim Penny come, so he's crossing paths today. I think he was going to be in Preston after me, so we're just covering all of our cities and counties right now, as we know that it's budget time for you. So I just want to give you a couple quick highlights. Over the last few years, we've spent about 120, I think. Did everybody receive the letter? I don't know what you have in your packet. Okay, good. About 105,000 into Houston County, and one thing I do want to highlight is we just wrote to Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation in Egan, and received a $100,000 grant to do work in Fillmore, Houston, Faribault, and Martin counties for a quality child care, it is in your packet, quality child care program. The state of Minnesota is doing Parent Aware, and you may have heard it on the radio stations around the area about getting child care centers quality rated. So that's something that we're helping support throughout the 20 counties. But in the next year, we will be focusing on on Fillmore and Houston counties. So we have a couple meetings scheduled here, and I have the dates actually. And I can also email them out to Shar, but I'm sure we're in Caledonia on October 7th and October 14th for 2 trainings, and we still have a location that's yet to be determined. So those are 2 things that will be here in Caledonia actually. But then I wanted to highlight a couple other resources that we brought into the county, books and computers into the area, as well as worked with Spring Grove a year and a half ago now on a community growth initiative. So as I mentioned earlier, sorry, I'm kind of all over the place, Regional Foundation, early childhood is one of our areas, and economic development. So when we help support the community growth initiative in Spring Grove, that was focused on entrepreneurial, helping support their local businesses. Then the Blue Cross Blue Shield grant that I mentioned is helping support the early childhood initiative that's here in Houston County.
You have a mistake on here though.
Oh.
Because Ridgeway Community School isn't in Houston.
It's in Winona.
Right.
And I did look that up. They must serve part of Houston. I was looking on their website yesterday.
Yeah, because there's students from our place that go there.
So, and that's why we included on both Winona. Some of our school districts end up in 2 counties, and so that's the only reason it's on here. We don't necessarily attribute the dollars that went to Ridgeway in your total, but we put it on your fact sheet so you are aware that students are affected in your region by grants that we've given to Ridgeway. I know I looked at their website because I'm like, well, it's located in Winona County, but and why does it serve Houston as well? So that is why. Trying to think if there's any. The fact sheet that you're looking at too just does give a good overview of what we've done in Houston County. And you are really our conduit back into the communities that you represent. We're a local gap lender, so we partner with local EDAs as well as banks on helping support local businesses. I know Spring Grove Battery is one of our loan clients as well, but you're really our conduits to your constituents here in the area. And then our early childhood resources and community development. I know Marilyn Franken-Bear used to be on our board, and she's been very helpful in getting our resources also into Houston County. But we continue to work with the Houston County ECI as well. So, does anybody have any questions about the foundation, about our resources?
Tim would have gone on a lot longer.
I usually preface, because I had to do Olmsted County last year, and I'm like, I'm going to be much briefer than Tim, I'm sure. I know, and he gives a much broader overview, and I'm sure you've heard a lot of it. 2 of our new programs that he probably spoke about last year that we're continually rolling out is our equity fund and then our farmland retention program. So currently we have 24 community foundations under our umbrella, and there's 5 actually in Fillmore County. We'd love to help support any communities that are interested in starting a community foundation in Houston. We have, I think La Crescent has reached out to us. Is that Houston or is that Winona? Okay,
It's Houston.
I know it's way on the border, and I've talked to them years ago, and I think they started one on their own. But that's another resource that we provide, is that 501c3, kind of the back office support, and then the communities raise the dollars and grant them out, and then we offer all the the 990s, all the back office stuff. So that's been another resource.
Do you guys handle the investments then with the
We do.
foundations?
Yep. Their assets are invested alongside with our endowment funds. And we have, currently we're at about 31 million in our endowment funds. And that includes a youth trust fund that we're in the process of building to 3 million. It's at about 2.3 right now. And we just started an entrepreneur fund a couple years ago that is close to reaching 1 million. And those, currently out of our youth trust fund, we do home visiting grants, and I know Houston County over the years has received some home visiting grants as well out of that fund. And once we reach 1 million for our entrepreneur fund, we'll be spending approximately 50,000 of that every year back into grant making. So our board right now allows us to allocate 4.5% of our endowment on programming each year. Our largest benefactor continues to be the McKnight Foundation. They, every 5 years we write to them for a grant. We received $6 million, and we're about 3 years into our plan with them right now. We use $1 million each year in our operating, so they really cover our overhead and a lot of our programming. And then we used the last $1 million for a challenge grant for our entrepreneur fund and our youth trust fund to help us build those. So currently we do a dollar for dollar match into our youth trust fund or entrepreneur fund to help us build those funds and then ultimately have more grant dollars available to grant out. And so we typically spend about $5 million back into the region each year. This year was a little lower. I think our totals are coming back at about 4.3 because lending, as we all know, it's taking the economy a long time to recover business-wise, and so we're not doing as many loans as we would like to be doing. And banks have more money now to lend out, so they don't necessarily utilize our gap resources as much as they used to. But McKnight isn't going away. They are our largest funder, but our cities and counties come in right after them. So I do thank you for your support and your continued support. We raise about $400,000 to $425,000 out of the 20 counties that we cover, and about 40% of that budget does come from our cities and counties. And then the rest is made up of individuals, banks, and businesses that also support us.
In the entrepreneur category, do you work with Winona County on the one that's going, like they have a club or something like that up there, or something where they're working with people more?
We are doing what we call a community growth initiative in their downtown area, much like we did with Spring Grove, where we they write to us and it's about a $25,000 grant. $5,000 is used for meeting expenses, so they really get to spend $20,000. I'm hoping this is what you're talking about. And we go in and work with the leadership group, and they wanted to focus on their downtown businesses in Winona and help make them more economically viable. So Pam Bishop, who leads our business team, she goes in and works with them and helps them asset map around how can we help support our downtown businesses and make them thrive. And from there, the leadership groups form projects, much like Spring Grove did. They pick the projects that they want to work on, and then as a group, the leadership group votes on which projects get the grant funding. So we're really just the overall support system, but then the community actually gets to decide how they spend those dollars.
And do they do it like county-wise? Like, could our county EDA hook up with Smith to work towards something like this, a leadership kind of?
Yes, and in Fillmore County we did, I think it's 2 years ago now, they wanted to do a business succession planning for county-wide, and I forgot his name, but he works for CEDA. They received a $20,000 grant to help look at businesses countywide. So yes, that is, if there's something that you want to put together, Pam Bishop would be
Pam Bishop
at our foundation. I'm just seeing she's probably in here, but I'm not positive. She is on the back of here. She's the third one down. But I can also send information to Shar and have her get it to you.
Okay, that would be great, because we were kind of talking about this a while ago with our EDA and trying to get more more people to do this kind of thing and fill up some of our smaller areas. And all of our communities in the county are all having, you know, storefront openings and seeing what we could do to improve it.
And it's definitely would be driven by maybe your county EDA. We just started a new project, a community growth initiative, and this is new to us, but with 10 communities around the Destination Medical Center. So I won't be able to name all of them, but I know when I was in Fillmore earlier, Spring Valley, Eota, I won't come up with all of them. There's 10 small communities that are banding together to help figure out how they can be part of Destination Medical Center. Can they build trails? How can they make their businesses more viable? How can they make their communities more viable to have people live?
In this part of the state, we could also jump on board with that because we're interstate bound for everybody from Rochester,
Mhm.
so which makes us within an hour and a half of there, so.
Yeah.
More things that we need to look at.
Yep. And I'm sure I'll connect up with Pam and make sure that she connects up with Shar about what the
great.
resources, and she is working in Winona right now, so as well as with the 10 communities in and around Rochester area. So we did offer it, and I don't know how many communities, or if we looked at it by county, and I can find out for you, but we did throw it out to all the communities around Rochester area. And I don't know if we drew an hour radius or how it was decided. We had a lot of communities who came back and just said, you know, we have a staff member of one, it doesn't make sense, we just can't allocate the time. But then we're putting grant dollars behind the projects that they decide to do. And right now it's 40,000, but it could be there could be more dollars allocated to the projects around that. So, and that they just had their first meeting. So if you have some interest, I can get more information on that and send that back to Sharp.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Thanks for waiting for me.
No, that's all right, we're on time.
It's a beautiful day. I wanted to slow down because the valley was so pretty, but I'm like, next time.
What do you have to do after this?
Actually, I just have a meeting here, and then I'm heading to Houston. So, for the rest of the day.
Good. Well,
Maybe
you
I can
enjoy some
drive
of the
back
drive.
that way?
So I was gonna say, you enjoy some of the drive back, maybe.
Yes, yeah, I did. I will. Thank you so much.
Yep, see ya.
One more thing, Rick did confirm that it's 10:30 with the EQB next Thursday, that they hope to be here by that time.
Excellent.
So,
We don't have a regular meeting next time.
correct, we'll meet Tuesday.
Ready to go? Ready to move to adjourn? Move to adjourn?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Have a good